What's going on, guys? Mike here, and right now let's take a moment to really appreciate the topic of today's video, because the top two picks in the 2019 NBA draft were once on the same AAU basketball team. Yes, when Morant was a sophomore and Zion was a freshman, they played on the same AAU team and they were very good. Trust me, we are going to get into just how good, but before we do that, I want to talk about what usually happens with stories like these, because whenever something comes out like this, whenever we hear a story that seems almost unbelievable, well, these stories kind of take on a life of their own. What I mean by that is, since it has become public knowledge that Zion and Ja did play on the same AAU team, I've heard some pretty ridiculous rumors about Zion, Ja, and the South Carolina Hornets, aka the AAU team they played for. People have told me that the Hornets were the best AAU team of all time. People have said that Zion was the star on the team and that Ja didn't even start. I've even heard that Zion ended up leaving the Hornets because after Ja had a growth spurt, Ja became more of a ball hog and Zion just couldn't take it. Trust me, guys, while there are some half-truths in some of these statements, for instance, as you're about to see, Zion did choose to leave the team while Ja stayed, but this decision definitely did not happen because of Ja's growth spurt. But the thing is, while I did know that these stories were not true, I also realized that I didn't know the full story here either. And that meant that I pretty much immediately researched as much as I could about this story, and by the time I had learned everything I could, I knew I had to make a video on this because I am very confident that you guys are going to enjoy this story just as much as I did. Which means now, let's set the stage here and take a trip back to 2014, a year in which Zion Williamson and Ja Morant were both unknown names and really were just kids. Ja had just played his first season in high school where he was a 5'7" freshman that never even thought about dunking. And as for Zion, he had just graduated middle school and was actually supposed to play for the Hornets younger team, but shockingly, after the Hornets coach Ricky Taylor saw him throw down a windmill dunk during an 8th grade game, it was decided that Zion could handle playing a year up. It also became very clear as the season went on that this was very much the correct choice, as during his one season with the South Carolina Hornets, Zion Williamson would rise from an unknown name to a player who would quickly become internet famous. I mean, we've all seen the dunks, we've all seen the highlight reels. The man is and was a beast, as Ja Morant himself would tell you, because when looking back at this season and his first impression of Zion, Ja has said, quote, "We saw a new dude in the gym who was about 6'4" and was down there windmill, and we were like, what grade is he in?" It's rare that you see people at that size doing what he does. Playing with him that season of AAU, I knew he would be a great talent and would excel in this league. And as for Zion's impression of Ja at the time, let's just say we are getting to what is, in my opinion, the most interesting part of this story. The fact that Ja was nowhere near the elite player he is now. Because when Zion looks back at his time playing with Ja, Zion remembers, quote, "How Ja is now, he had a similar game, but dunking the way he is now, he was nothing like that. But he still had that same mindset to go out there and be the best version of himself." So yeah, be the best version of himself. Those are not the words of someone describing a top tier basketball talent. In fact, Zion kind of sounds like a kindergarten teacher here, and again, the reason for this was that while Zion was a superstar from the second he took the court with the Hornets, Ja was seen as a level or two below Zion in terms of talent. That's not saying Ja was not a very good or even great basketball player, but he just was not seen as a potential big-time prospect like his teammates Zion and Devontae Shuler, another local South Carolina kid who now plays at Ole Miss. And going even further here, it was Shuler who was the best player on this team, as when Zion talks about his time playing with Devontae, the way he speaks about him is very different than the way he spoke about Ja. Just listen to this quote. I was like, yeah, he's the best player in the state. Very excited explosive scorer, I used to just watch in awe of him. So yes, the media has made a huge deal about the fact that Zion and Ja used to play on the same team together, and has basically ignored the parts that included Devontae Shuler being the best player on the team and Ja struggling to stand out. The thing is though, to me, that just makes this story even cooler, because at the end of the day, the South Carolina Hornets are one of the rarest stories in recent AAU basketball history. This was a program that was not funded by any sneaker companies and instead was run by a community leader in Ricky Taylor. The team and its players were given none of the advantages that sponsored AAU teams receive, and despite this, Coach Taylor still had his boys playing a year up, and the team still won around 90% of their games. What's more, this single season with the Hornets gave Zion the first viral moment in his young basketball career, because when matched up in a game against 7th Woods, a future top 50 recruit, one of 7th Woods' teammates went up for a dunk, and out of nowhere, Zion would rise up and basically spike the ball off the backboard with two hands. This play was completely clean, but Zion still got called for a foul. The reason? As the ref would tell Coach Taylor, quote, "There wasn't a foul. I just got caught up in it and blew my whistle." That is amazing, and it was moments like these that would lead to Zion leaving the Hornets after just one season with the team. He would end up playing for SC Supreme, an Adidas sponsored program that was much more nationally known and gave him much more exposure. And I've gotta say, no matter how cool Ja and Zion playing on the same team as seniors would be, Zion made the right decision here. I mean, as we all know, after joining SC Supreme, Zion would go on to become a national sensation and is now hopefully ready to handle the lawless city that is New Orleans. Moving on to Ja, his rise to stardom was a lot more complicated as he had a little more ground to make up compared to Zion. And unlike Zion, Ja would decide to never leave the Hornets. Yes, this did mean he got less exposure, but at his core, Ja Morant is an extremely loyal person. This, combined with Zion leaving the team, would be, in Zion's own words, the best thing that could have happened to Ja, as now playing without Zion and Devontae, who also left after 1 year, it was Ja who was expected to step up, which is exactly what he did. Coach Taylor remembers that as a freshman, Ja couldn't even dunk, but eventually, after spending hours upon hours working on his athleticism through drills such as jumping on tires, Ja would return to the Hornets as a much more explosive player and was, insert Coach Taylor quote again, suddenly catching alley-oops and finishing over defenders with ease. And so, wrapping up this story here, again, while Ja was not exactly on Zion's level when the two played together, in my opinion, this story is awesome because of that fact. On the one hand, we had the superstar. We had the player that was always hyped up, that was always seen as a top recruit in Zion, and on the other hand, we had Ja Morant, a man who would only receive a few Division I scholarship offers, a man who would go on to play at Murray State, and a man who would go on to become the undisputed leader of Murray State. You can't tell me that taking control of the South Carolina Hornets did not play a big role in Ja's rise as both a leader and as a basketball player. So basically what I'm saying here is the story of Zion Williamson and Ja Morant's 1 year together playing AAU basketball is even more incredible because of how unlikely it was that both of them would reach the NBA, let alone become the top 2 picks in the 2019 NBA draft. With that said, guys, we are finished with this story. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe for new videos like this one, and if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome, we all know. One little thing before we go though. When I was writing this, I kind of felt myself that I wasn't giving enough credit to Zion's work ethic while describing Ja's. I don't want you guys to take this video that way. Honestly, the reason I went more into Ja's story is that I already made an entire video on Zion, so I felt like Ja's time was due. Hope that makes sense. I think it does. Anyway, have an awesome day and cue that music. By the way, if you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think you are going to love watching. All you have to do is just click on either one of them on the screen right here. And other than that, guys, again, have a great day and peace.